So, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. The Suicide Squad. Abysmal opening weekend. In the States, anyway. It was actually open last weekend in the UK. And I reviewed it last week. I didn't hate the film. Didn't love it. I wasn't enamored with it. I thought it was fine. But I wasn't like, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And it would seem a few other people agreed with me, I guess. Failing that, maybe people actually thought it was really, really bad. But it hasn't done very well. I will say this. I don't think it deserves to have done as bad as Birds of Prey. Because that's a terrible film. But maybe there's something in this, guys. Maybe people are sick of Harley Quinn. Maybe you shouldn't lead your promotion with Harley Quinn all the time. Because Margot Robbie's not a seller. And listen, I'm not saying it is Margot Robbie. I'm not saying it is people being sick of Harley Quinn. But I think maybe that is part of it. Absolutely going to be part of it. So let's check out some numbers. There was a really good breakdown by Deadline on all of this. So there was a debut of 6.7 million of 5 overseas market last weekend. So that UK would have been part of that. And then it opened worldwide this current weekend just gone. But it really didn't do very well. So it took 35 million from 69 total international box office markets, right? Which is a touch below the like-for-like opening of 2020's Birds of Prey, which did 36.6 million and was considered a bomb and has now been put on back burner indefinitely. Then they're basically never making more of them. So there seems to be people just blaming this whole Delta variant business. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just bad movies. You can kid yourselves all you want that this is to do with, you know, variants and people being worried and stuff like that. But it's just simply not the case. Godzilla vs. Kong released and in, you know, the tail end of what you could consider to be the pandemic anyway. But where, you know, theatres weren't properly open. Nothing was really properly there, properly working. And this opened mainly in the States first, because we didn't get it here until like May, I think, if I remember rightly. And that did much more. Much more. So it's got nothing to do with COVID, which seems to be the go-to blame. But look, I'll give them this. At least the studios have something quick to blame now. It's not going to be men, is it? At least there's that. At least we're not getting the nonsense blame of, oh, it's just men and you know, misogyny and all that kind of nonsense. But anyway, it didn't do very well, basically. It has bombed. And it's done under 40 million. We were seeing coming into the frame. The offshore cube is now 45.7 million. And the global total with domestic debut is 72.2 million. It's bombed. Like, it has bombed. Now, they say that it's a well-reviewed James Gunn-helmed franchise entry. Had a strong minus 25% hold and it's already opened overseas markets. So it hasn't had 25% drop-off is really, really good. Right? That's a bloody good drop-off. That's not bad at all. But notably landed number 1 in Russia, Mexico, Brazil, Spain and Italy. And Japan is due to release on August 13th. So this coming weekend. But I think that one will struggle because Don't Breathe 2 is coming out. And I bet you anything that's going to be a bit of a surprise hit. I think people are really looking forward to that film. I know I am. I'm really looking forward to that film. I know I haven't done a trailer reaction to it, but I didn't want to. I just want to go and watch it. But anyway, nevertheless, despite positive reactions, hopes were higher for the Suicide Squad, and there are several factors to contributing to the lackluster start. And here we start to get the cope from Deadline, and it is absolutely cope, right? Closures in Australia and Mexico, and the introduction of the health pass requirement in Italy this weekend impacted the debut. That I will agree with, right? Australia was leading the charge actually for quite a few movies when they were open and movies were coming out again, so I'd agree with that. And this health passport business in Italy, yeah, I mean, you're going to crush industries. You are crushing industries by doing this. Now, the latter market was down overall by an estimated 70%. In France, there is still confusion over the health pass. And, I mean, they are so disgruntled with Emmanuel Macron. I kid you not, you can find videos of it. They literally sprayed his building with feces. With poop. So I can't imagine they're going to be doing that. I mean, look, it's not going well over in France, let's be honest, right? And if you guys don't know this in the States, do some research on it, because it's hilarious, but it's also tragic at the same time. But anyway, so there was also, health pass, and then there was competition from local titles in Germany and Korea. That makes perfect sense, that's fine. The Suicide Squad, whose title doesn't do enough to delineate it from the 2016 movie, I will agree with that as well, because people didn't really like that film. I know there were some people that did, of course, but it also doesn't do a lot to delineate itself from that movie in terms of the way it's put together. You know, all the stupid, crappy songs that they keep playing throughout the Suicide Squad. They are as bad as what was playing in Suicide Squad. Like, I know it's James Gunn's style, but you need to learn to differentiate somewhat, because that left a bad taste in people's mouths, I believe, anyway. But it also opened on HBO Max domestically as well. That's going to deeply affect its totals. 100% it will. And then Deadline also notes that apparently made piracy easier as well. And it's like, well, yes and no. Piracy is available on everything. It doesn't matter whether it's on HBO Max. Piracy is, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie, and people will go and see it regardless of piracy. So I don't agree with that at all. Now, they also say is what we haven't seen recently is a purely theatrical global start for a major title. Next weekend's Free Guy from Disney will be one to watch, but will also be dealing with the continually shifting COVID situation. What situation? Come on. With respect to them saying that that there's not just a purely theatrical one to watch out for, I agree with that, but there's also been movies that have been released day and date on streaming and theatrical, and then they've done much better. So the short-term memory loss here is monumental. It's really, really big. Now, they also say that this weekend all of Southeast Asia, save Singapore, remain closed, so that would massively impact it. Although the strongest DC markets are traditionally in Europe and Latin America. The third Harley Quinn movie was led by Russia's 4.2 million, tracking ahead of Black Widow by 16% and Birds of Prey by 30%. The UK dipped 32% for a 10.8 million Cuban number one in the sophomore session. And Korea came in at 2.6 million behind the local title Escape from Mogadishu, which is 14.5 million today, which is bloody good for them, to be fair. And with a start that is 9% above Wonder Woman 1984 and 28% over Birds of Prey. Germany landed in a number 2, start of 2.2 million. Mexico was a clear number 1. So it's done okay. You know, it's done okay. But then again, we finish, and people's blame is shot entirely on IMAX cameras. The Suicide Squad grossed 2.545 million on 319 offshore IMAX screens. So they're trying to sort of say IMAX is part of it. But the film is the DC series are not released in China either, which is a massive market, where the session was led again by Donnie Yen's Raging Fire. So there's a lot. There's a lot to sort of blame here, I guess. But I think all in all, a lot of it just boils down to it not being a particularly great movie. And I think that's fine. It's not a terrible film. It's just not particularly great either. You know, would I go and watch it again? No. And a good film, that is one of the markers for a good film. And the standard just keeps dropping for films these days. So it is what it is, but it's bombed. I don't think it deserves to be worse than Birds of Prey, because that film was garbage. But anyway, so please do let me know what you think down below in the comments section. Anything I said here which you deemed controversial was not my intention. But if you're new here and you enjoyed this video, you clearly did, you stayed this long, please do hit that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care.